I grew up on a very small farm in the Rocky Mountains near a place called Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. My father, he scratched out a living with a small sawmill and a couple of cows, and we had cows for milk and chickens for eggs. Not a lot of trips to the grocery store.
Stealing some lemonade, man.
7 kids and 4 adults to feed through the winter.
Yeah.
So you had...
And no money.
Yeah.
Our little shack on the prairie.
That's right.
My father would hunt 1 moose a year. It was much needed, and there was never any fanfare about it. He'd be out on his tractor or something, he would see a moose, he would come back to the house, take his old World War II era rifle off the wall, and go out and shoot the moose. That was our food.
I still have the rifle. I remember Dad saying he paid $10 for it.
And I'm sure he only ever had that one gun, that I recall, so.
100 years. That gun's been
100 years.
Kicking around almost
That's
100 years.
amazing.
And that's what he used for the bread and butter.
He wasn't strutting around all macho like he got a moose and bragging about how big the antlers were. It was meat. I'd begged him for at least a year, I'm sure, to get me a rifle. And when he finally got it, it was pretty exciting. I was gone. That's all I did, and it's a small town, and all my friends, that's all they did. We didn't have video games. Really, there was nothing on TV either. So we were just outside all the time. You hear in your mind that echo of your mother calling for you to come home, come for supper, because you were never home. We'd gone out in the bush someplace.
Happy now he's got his buddy. Yeah.
We moved to Williams Lake when I was a teenager, and carried on hunting and stuff, not as often. Eventually, in my 20s, that's when I ended up living in Vancouver. So you would come home, and first thing you want to do is get out in the wilderness again because you miss it. So the excuse you needed, I guess, was to go hunting. We shot a moose at one time. It was a calf moose with its mother, a 2-year-old calf, so it was all legal. We dropped it in the swamp, and then the mother ran off, and we were gutting out this calf. The mother was calling for it in the bush, the big bellowing sort of call. And it was really unnerving, and I felt like I just don't really want to do this anymore. Over time, I couldn't even relate to hunting as a sport anymore. I was actually becoming a real anti-hunter. A few years ago, I really hit a low point. I'd become almost obsessed with it all, and even started trolling hunters online. And pretty soon, I'm saying things that I would normally never say to somebody. The comments were so almost abusive and dangerous even sometimes. And in the midst of all this, I was, trolling hunters online, all this stuff, and I just came across this story of a guide who was working in the Great Bear Rainforest, and he'd actually met with a hunter and talked him out of killing grizzlies. And I just thought, wow, that's really incredible. That's somebody I want to meet.
There he is.
Willie.
How's it going?
Good.
Good to
Good
finally
to meet you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good to
sure.
finally meet you. Geez.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Wow, on your turf.
Yeah, in our territory, and it's going to be a beautiful day.
We're looking forward to it for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just fire.
We were talking back and forth almost 2 years since I first called him. It was like I've known him my whole life. We just picked up where we left off.
The reason I found out about you is this story with, you know, where you talked to an old friend or an acquaintance, I guess, was it, that he was going to come here grizzly hunting and wanted you to show him where they were.
He had his LEH for Kinkum.
Limited entry.
Yeah, limited entry hunt.
Yeah.
And so he's been putting his name in for years. So finally he got a ticket, and he was so excited. And because I'm from Kinkum, I knew the area, and that's where his ticket was for. Called me up and said, "Yeah, I think you're the man to bring me in, show me around to hunt a grizzly bear." Holy cow! Yeah, my heart dropped, and
yeah.
So I just said, "There's a problem here. You know, I actually view grizzly bears, and you know, it wasn't just about my business. It was about my community and family. Like, you would be met with a lot of resistance," I said. So he didn't know that. He didn't know that part of it. As the conversation went on, I was able to talk him out of it, and we went grizzly bear viewing instead. No one eats grizzlies.
No.
It'd be different if people did, if we did, right? And but it's really foreign to us to shoot grizzlies, because all it is it's for trophy.
You could have met people I've seen online, and this horrible, like the toxicity, the death threats from non-hunters to hunters. It doesn't get anybody anywhere. You know, I started even getting swallowed up in that world just because I started feeling protective of wildlife.
There's deeper ways of communicating and visiting each other and being connected to one another. I think that's happened because he's now one of my best friends.
Wow.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time, and his kids call me uncle now, and
wow.
It really did change my life too, actually. As indigenous people and our relationships with the environment, right? And we always pay tribute to what's around us. And if you look after the land will look after you, right? There needs to be that foresight, that 7 generations look ahead, you know. Just
7 generations?
Think longer term, yeah.
I haven't heard it put that way.
Because we don't want to commit crime against the future generations.
I just think that hunting back then was more of a sort of a job that you did, or a task that you did, like cutting chickens' heads off, or I don't know, it was just part of like a task that you had to do.
Looking after a farm and going hunting to feed your family was a lot of work. That's all there was to it.
I can't even eat wild meat anymore.
Yeah.
We want it all
You don't
packaged
want,
in the grocery store.
But as for doing it yourself, you could never do that. I couldn't do that.
Living in cities and being crowded by people and traffic and buildings and concrete, and then you go and see a deer or a moose or a grouse even. They're just really interesting to just watch. When you shoot something, you see it for a moment, and then it's dead. And then you have some meat, which, you know, if you're starving to death, that's a great thing. And so you were an actual hereditary chief, is that?
Up at 2 years ago,
Right.
I got my grandfather's seat, which comes from here.
Would this be an area that you would have hunted in as a child?
Yeah, for deer. We go hunting for the community, and it's still like that today. I just wanted to show you this place because this is where I was born.
Right.
I was born here in Alert Bay, lived here for the first part of my life. It really is the hub, it was the hub, still is the hub basically for a lot of our First Nations around here. A lot of our families live here. Multiple tribes have moved here. This is where the residential school was. So this is where I began.
Tracks, eh? Nice.
So the bigger one is still here. That's a good sign. Yeah. Well, we're just gonna wait for him to see if he comes out. Because if he comes right out, then that'll be nice. There he is.
I guess, starting filming wildlife, and when you watch something and watch its behavior, you start having a bond with it. Just like grizzly bears, you watch them, and they're just fascinating. It's like an addiction after a while. I live in a small resource-based town. In hunting season, everybody's out. To them, it's the traditional lifestyle, and they see nothing wrong with it.
So as a hunter, have you ever been stuck in one position for a long time because they're looking at you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever you're sneaking up on.
Right.
And you're just like stuck in one spot. Then they finally get the trust again.
Yeah.
And then they go back eating or whatever. Then you can start moving again.
Yeah. Yeah. As a hunter with a camera, I've sure had that many, many times.
Yeah.
What is the difference between people who get joy out of photographs of all of these things, and the experiences are the same, really? You can go out in the wilderness, sneak through the trees or whatever it is you want to do, crawl through the underbrush and get a shot of whatever it is.
No, it's a macho thing. It's that they can prove to their friends that, look at me, I'm a big game hunter. And
obviously there's a sense of pride in it.
The other side of the coin then is do you go on Facebook and you see somebody like that woman that killed a giraffe, so then you go on there and you say, I hope you die, you pig, you whore, you bitch. Like, that's what you hear.
Yeah.
I know.
And then you have to say, well, do you want to be part of that?
No.
Whoa.
Yeah, you don't wish death on somebody because they do something that obviously, I mean, are they evil? Well, that's pretty silly to say that they're misguided maybe, but those videos that go viral, they end up getting death threats.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. It's not just about hunting. We live in a fast-paced digital world, you know. I think we are losing an ability to communicate with each other on a personal level, and that handshake, that moment, meeting in person, it's very different than meeting somebody via email or online. I wouldn't want to be on the bad side of one. They're very vocal.
Yeah. And they seem to fight over position sometimes.
King of the castle up there.
That's my spot. I believe everybody has this pull to nature.
Yes.
Somewhere inside them, they long for nature. You know, the greenery, the fresh air. You know, the living energies within the forests and the sea. I mean, it really does move people. I've seen it. I've seen people actually start to have tears in their eyes when a humpback whale just breaches right beside us. Like, it means it's something spiritual for them.